Welcome to Redville. Redville was a happy place. People smiled a lot. Everybody knew everybody. Life was good, except for maybe the tomatoes growing in Farmer Joe's field. Those tomatoes had a plan, a bad plan. One day, the tomatoes started flying. It was weird, people laughed. A tomato hit Old Man Wilbur's hat. He scratched his head, confused. Little Timmy saw it all. "Look, Mommy! Flying tomatoes!" His mom chuckled. "That's silly, Timmy." But Timmy knew better. This was just the beginning. The next day, more tomatoes flew. They seemed angry. Mrs. Peabody got a tomato in the face. Splat! Her new glasses were ruined. "Not my glasses!" she cried. Joggers in the park were not safe. Tomatoes pelted them. Splat! Splat! People screamed. This wasn't funny anymore. It was a tomato attack. At the Redville diner, people choked on their coffee. A tomato crashed through the window. It landed on a plate of fries. "Well," said the sheriff, "that's one way to add ketchup." Nobody laughed. The salon was full of ladies, chatting and laughing as they got their hair done. It was a typical sunny afternoon, and the outdoor salon was bustling with activity. The stylists were busy, their hands moving swiftly through hair, applying dye, and creating beautiful styles. The air was filled with the scent of hair products and the hum of conversation. Suddenly, out of nowhere, tomatoes began to rain down from the sky. Splat! Splat! The ladies screamed and ducked for cover, but it was too late. The tomatoes were relentless, splattering everywhere and creating a chaotic scene. The once peaceful salon was now a battlefield of flying tomatoes. Hair dye and tomato juice mixed on the ground, creating a colorful but disastrous mess. The stylists tried to shield their clients, but the damage was done. Hair that was supposed to be a perfect shade of blonde or brunette was now streaked with red tomato juice. It was a disaster. "My hair!" screamed Mrs. Henderson, her voice filled with horror. She had come in for a platinum blonde makeover, but now her hair was a shocking shade of tomato red. "It's supposed to be platinum blonde, not tomato red," she cried, looking at her reflection in disbelief. The other ladies were in similar states of distress, their hair ruined by the unexpected tomato attack. Meanwhile, at the nearby grocery store, the chaos continued. Tomatoes bombed the aisles, creating a slippery, squishy mess. Shoppers tried to navigate the tomato-strewn floor, but it was nearly impossible to avoid stepping on the squashed fruit. People slipped and slid on tomato guts, their feet flying out from under them as they tried to keep their balance. It was like a scene from a slapstick comedy, with everyone struggling to stay upright in the tomato mayhem. "Ah!" yelled Mr. Johnson as he fell into a tower of canned peaches. The cans toppled over, adding to the chaos. He tried to get up, but the floor was too slippery with tomato juice. Even the dogs weren't safe from the tomato onslaught. They barked and yelped, trying to dodge the falling tomatoes. Sparky, the town's naughtiest pup, got chased by a particularly large tomato. He ran as fast as his little legs could carry him, but the tomato seemed to have a mind of its own. He ran whimpering with the tomato in hot pursuit. The scene was both hilarious and chaotic, with everyone trying to escape the unexpected tomato mayhem. Section 4. Mayor to the rescue? Not quite. Mayor Mildred was worried. The town of Greenfield had never faced a crisis like this before. The once peaceful town was now under siege by an unexpected enemy, tomatoes. Yes, you heard that right, tomatoes. She called a town meeting. The townspeople gathered, their faces etched with concern and curiosity. What could possibly be done about this bizarre situation? "We have a tomato problem," she announced. Her voice echoed through the town square, and the gravity of the situation was palpable. Everyone nodded. They knew. The tomatoes were not just any tomatoes. They were enormous, aggressive, and seemingly unstoppable. They'd already caused significant damage to property and morale. "I've called the National Guard," said the mayor. She hoped that the military might have a solution to this peculiar problem. But the National Guard laughed. They thought it was a prank. "Tomato attack? You're kidding, right?" They hung up. The mayor sighed. This was bad. The town was on its own. The mayor sighed deeply. feeling the weight of the town's expectations on her shoulders. She knew she had to find a solution, and fast. Professor Brainstorm, the town inventor, presented his solution, a giant tomato catcher. He had been working tirelessly in his lab, convinced that his invention would save the day. It looked like a giant butterfly net. Everyone was hopeful. The townspeople gathered around, their eyes filled with anticipation and a glimmer of hope. But when the first tomato hit the net, it ripped right through. The professor fainted. The crowd gasped in horror. The net was supposed to be their salvation, but now it seemed like they were back to square one. The mayor looked around at the disheartened faces and knew they couldn't give up. They had to find another way to save their town from the tomato menace. Section 5. The Redville Tomato Defense Force. The people of Redville decided to fight back. They formed the Tomato Defense Force. They wore colanders on their heads as helmets. They carried frying pans as shields. Little Timmy was their leader. He wasn't scared anymore. He rallied the townsfolk. "We will not be defeated by flying fruit," he yelled. Everyone cheered. Even Sparky barked in agreement. Section 6. Tomato Tales. The tomato battle raged for days. There were tomato heroes like Granny Mabel, who single-handedly took down a giant tomato with her rolling pin. There were tomato villains, like the Great Tomato, a monstrous fruit that terrorized the town square. And then there were the tomato tales, stories of bravery, silliness, and tomato-flavored chaos. These stories would be told for generations to come. Section 7. Redville Strong. Finally, the tomato attack ended. Why? Nobody knew. The skies, once filled with the red menace, were now clear. The townsfolk, who had been living in constant fear, could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Maybe the tomatoes just got tired. Perhaps they had exhausted their energy, or maybe they had simply run out of targets. The people of Redville were left to ponder the mystery. Maybe they ran out of juice. The once vibrant and aggressive tomatoes now lay lifeless on the ground, their red pulp staining the streets and walls of the town. Whatever the reason, Redville was safe again. The community came together to clean up the aftermath, sweeping the streets and washing away the remnants of the bizarre attack. The town was a mess. Tomato stains were everywhere. The once picturesque streets of Redville were now covered in red splatters, a stark reminder of the chaos that had ensued. But the people were happy. Despite the mess, there was a sense of relief and joy in the air. The townsfolk had faced an unprecedented challenge and had come out stronger on the other side. They had faced a bizarre enemy and survived. The community's spirit was unbroken, and their unity had only grown stronger. They celebrated their resilience and the fact that they had stood together in the face of adversity. They had learned that even in the face of flying fruit, laughter and unity could conquer all. The townsfolk gathered for a community event, sharing stories and laughter and finding solace in each other's company. Redville learned a valuable lesson that week. Life is unpredictable. You never know when you might be faced with an unexpected challenge, but it's how you respond that truly matters. Sometimes it throws tomatoes at you, and when it does, you have to be ready to dodge, catch, and make the best of the situation. The important thing is to face those tomatoes with a smile, a frying pan, and a whole lot of community spirit. The townsfolk of Redville knew that together, they could overcome anything. And maybe a good recipe for tomato soup. After all, when life gives you tomatoes, why not make something delicious? The community cookout became a symbol of their resilience, turning a strange and challenging event into a celebration of unity and strength.